So you've decided that IT is the field for you. You've gotten yourself a degree and a couple of certs and you're feeling good about hitting up some recruiters, but you're not getting a response. Or you're at your first IT job and you're thinking, this isn't what was described to me when I was in college. And you're wondering, is this job really right for me? A couple of months ago, one of my newly promoted regional managers asked me to sit in on some Zoom interviews for interns, something I haven't done in quite some time. These kids were incredibly bright and eager, but their expectations really didn't match the job they'd be doing. And it got me thinking about all the stuff I wish I knew before I started in IT. Before we start, I'd like to welcome you to our new YouTube channel where my IT professional friends and I break down some of the truths that are known but not really spoken about for whatever reason, or some insight on things we wish we knew when we were coming up, and hopefully provide you with a little bit of insight about the industry from the other side, from a different point of view. These are my observations and opinions that I've acquired throughout my several decades long career in the technology field, and not a definitive list of anything or career advice. And without further ado, here are 4 truths about getting started in IT. If you work for a chocolate factory, chocolate is most likely your company's main source of revenue. And if you work for a bank or a Wall Street firm, your company's main source of revenue is probably financial services. And unless you work for a managed service provider, it is most likely that IT is not your company's main source of revenue. Not to say that our jobs aren't important or that certain decisions a company makes are right, but when a company is struggling, it might be important to highlight why IT may get the shaft. As an example, I did a lot of project work when I first started in IT, in the form of after-hours moves and remote phone support on my free time to supplement my low-paying help desk day job salary. And the owner of the managed service provider that got me all these project gigs and I ended up being really good friends. And he told me that his company started during the recession in the early 2000s, where he was an IT manager at a financial firm on Wall Street, where he felt like he had no growth potential. And when speaking to the owner of that firm, they simply said, "You are a debit, not a credit." And his point wasn't to minimize this person's position, but that it was lean times and he needs to invest in people that actually bring in money. And IT is expensive with the workstations and the servers and the software license and all that other stuff. So he ended up leaving and starting his own managed service provider. I see a lot of people in the IT groups on Facebook and the IT career questions subreddit talking about being stagnant in their current position or that their supervisors have no path for growth for them. But it's really up to you to look at the factors that may cause this. Does the company have the same couple of guys that have worked there for decades in the same position? Is the company growing? Is there positions for you to grow into? How is your performance? And finally, is your boss a d***? At the end of the day, the only person that has your best interest in mind is yourself. As you progress further in IT or tech support, you realize that this isn't just a desk job. As an entry-level position, your job falls into 2 categories: hardware and software. Software problems might be able to be solved remotely, but when it comes to hardware, you'll find that you'll be crawling under desks, moving PCs and monitors, and patching cables in the network closets. That's not to say it's not interesting. I personally feel it beats sitting around a desk all day. You'll be interacting with pretty much every aspect of your company, and you won't be that mad about missing leg day at the gym since you had to move that 50-pound printer from one floor to the other. When I was starting out in IT almost 2 decades ago, I was trained by 2 senior technicians who didn't really care for the job. They were hard to get a hold of and they weren't very pleasant to work with. They believed that if you didn't know how to do something, it was because you were an idiot or you didn't read the documentation. Unfortunately, texts like this really do exist, and they're not as common as you think. Shows like the IT Crowd or Jimmy Fallon's IT Guy SNL sketch, where socially awkward techs laugh at the tech misfortunes of the general staff, are all too real. But times are changing. Technology is more prevalent in every aspect of work, and it's more accessible to everyone. The keys to the castle aren't held by one nerd like they used to be. When I was a new manager at a previous job, I inherited a lead technician for a small regional office who demanded to speak with me. He was upset that his peer got offered a promotion while he did not. I knew that he was knowledgeable, but he was also a jerk to people. He was the only tech in the office, so people had to go through him. He made sure that people knew that if they wanted help, and it would be on his time. His peer, on the other hand, who got the promotion, didn't know as much, had less experience. He was willing to learn and followed up with people. He built relationships, earning him a reputation as a problem solver and a team player. At the end of the day, we provide a service, and it's good to be the person that people want to work with and not the person that they have to work with. Knowing stuff is good, but soft skills will set you apart. Let me start by saying I have tons of problems with the Apple Store, starting with calling their tech geniuses and scripting a lot of their tech interactions. I could go on, but I will say that one thing that they do right, and a lot of reason why people buy Apple products, is their customer service. If you go to the Apple Store and you don't know how to do something, they'll walk you through it. They don't make you feel stupid about it, and you leave feeling good. And if you go in mad and ready for confrontation, they're generally pretty good at de-escalating the situation. So why do I use this as an example? In the corporate world, it's been the hot trend for the past couple of years to take an Apple Store approach as a way to improve service. And if you worked at a large company in the last decade as a non-IT person and you have a tech problem, you probably have had a neckbeard say to you, "Did you open a ticket? Can't help you if you didn't open a ticket." This type of backwards bureaucratic thinking drives me insane as an IT management professional. It takes less than a minute for a technician to open up a ticket, or the user can open it after you help them. And that's not even factoring in check-in and kiosk options for walk-up desks that are built into ticketing systems like ServiceNow, creating tickets on the spot. I can go on forever about SLAs and ticket ownership and customer satisfaction, but to keep it simple, our job is to keep tech running right. And if you're nice to people, the job is easier on you and on your customer. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in our tech support management philosophy. I'd love to make a video where I go a little more in the weeds about this. And that is my list of 4 truths about getting started in IT. This is my first video, and I know it may be a bit rough, but I hope it provided a different perspective than what you're used to seeing. We're hoping to keep this going with videos made by myself and my IT professional friends that may give you more insight on how things are in the field, but viewed from the other side.